I never thought my wife would be careless enough to whisper another man's name while lying beside me. But that night, at 2:17 in the morning, she did. The room was dark. The kind of dark where you can still recognize the shape of the furniture, the curtains, the person next to you. I had been half asleep, floating somewhere between a dream and waking up, when I heard her voice. Adrian, stop. He's right here. My eyes opened. I didn't move. I didn't turn. I didn't even let my breathing change. Natalie was on her side of the bed, facing away from me, the blanket pulled almost to her chin. A faint blue glow came from beneath it. Her phone. Then she whispered again. No, I can't talk now. He's asleep. That was the first lie. Because I wasn't asleep anymore. You're listening to the Eris Files. Every betrayal leaves a file. I had known Adrian for 12 years. He wasn't a coworker I had never met. He wasn't some name from a dating app. He wasn't a stranger who had slipped into my marriage from the outside. Adrian was my best friend. The man had a key to my house. He knew where we kept the spare batteries, which cabinet had the good whiskey, and how Lily liked her pancakes on Saturday mornings. He helped me move into my first apartment after college. He was there when my father got sick. He stood beside me at the altar while I promised Natalie the rest of my life. He was my best man. That was the part my mind rejected. Not him. Anyone but him. I stayed still, eyes barely open, watching the ceiling like it had answers. Natalie shifted under the blanket. I miss you too. Those 4 words didn't hit me like anger. Not at first. They made me cold. It started in my chest and spread slowly, like ice water under the skin. My hands went numb. My throat tightened. And then she laughed. Softly. The laugh I used to think belonged to me. She ended the call a minute later, placed the phone face down on the nightstand, then rolled toward me. Her hand touched my arm. I closed my eyes. She kissed my shoulder. Good night. I said nothing. The next morning, she made coffee. That was almost the worst part. Natalie stood in our kitchen wearing my old gray sweatshirt, humming while she packed Lily's lunch. Lily was 6 and sitting at the table, trying to tie her shoes with the seriousness of someone defusing a bomb. Morning, Natalie said. She smiled. That smile used to mean home. Now I couldn't tell what it meant anymore. Morning. She poured my coffee the way I liked it. 2 sugars, no milk. She remembered that. She remembered my dentist appointment, my mother's birthday, the name of the show I kept saying we should watch together. And sometime after midnight, she had whispered my best friend's name under our blanket. I could have confronted her right there. I could have said, I heard everything. Maybe she would have cried. Maybe she would have lied. Maybe she would have finally told the truth. But I wasn't ready for any of it. Not yet. I needed to know how deep this went before I let it ruin me. So I said nothing. At work that day, I read the same email over and over without understanding a word. Around noon, my phone buzzed. Adrian. Game tonight? We used to play basketball every Wednesday with a few guys from college. Lately, he had been missing more games than he attended. I stared at the message until the screen dimmed. Then I typed, can't, busy. He replied right away. All good, man. Another time. Man, that word looked different now. I opened our old chat. Years of jokes, plans, photos from barbecues, complaints about work. A picture of him holding Lily when she was a baby. Another one from my wedding. Adrian in a navy suit, smiling beside me like a brother. Natalie across from me, holding my hands, crying happy tears. I zoomed in on his face. Had it already started back then? No. I told myself no. I needed that not to be true. The first real clue came 3 days later. Natalie was in the shower. Lily was watching cartoons in the living room. I walked past the bathroom and heard her phone buzz against the counter. I stopped. I'm not proud of what I did next, but betrayal changes the rules before you even know you're playing. I looked at the screen. No name, just a number. The message preview said, "Still thinking about Monday." On Monday, Natalie said she had stayed late at work to finish a quarterly report. When she came home, her hair smelled like smoke and expensive cologne. I asked about it. She laughed and said, "The elevator smelled weird." And I believed her. Because marriage is built on thousands of small beliefs, tiny little trusts you hand over every day without thinking. Where you were, who called, why you were late, why your phone was face down. I didn't touch the message. I walked away. That night, after Natalie fell asleep, I went downstairs and opened the family tablet. She had connected her photo cloud to it years ago so we could share pictures of Lily. Most of it was ordinary. School projects, grocery lists, photos of our dog sleeping in strange places. Then I found the image. A mirror selfie. Natalie in a black dress I had never seen before. Not office clothes. Not girls' night clothes. A dress she would have shown me if she were wearing it for me. The photo was slightly blurred, taken quickly. Behind her, reflected near the edge of the mirror, was part of a man's arm. And on his wrist, a silver watch. Adrian wore that watch. I knew because I bought it for him on his 30th birthday. I closed the tablet and sat in the living room until the sun started turning the windows gray. The next morning, Natalie found me already dressed. "You're up early." Couldn't sleep. She came behind me and wrapped her arms around my waist. For one awful second, I wanted to turn around and hold her. I wanted to pretend the last few days hadn't happened. I wanted to be stupid again. Then her phone buzzed on the counter. She let go too quickly. That told me more than the message would have. Over the next 2 weeks, I built a file. At first, it was just a few notes on my phone. Dates, times, screenshots, things that felt too small alone but too strange together. Then I created a folder on my laptop. I named it Natalie. A few minutes later, I changed it. Because it wasn't just about her. It was about Adrian sitting across from me at dinner, asking how married life was. Adrian playing with Lily in the backyard while Natalie watched from the kitchen window. Adrian raising a glass at our wedding and saying, "Ethan is the luckiest man I know." So I renamed the folder, The File. Inside, it went everything. A restaurant reservation Natalie said was for her boss's retirement dinner. A parking receipt near Adrian's apartment. A charge from the Marlowe Hotel on a credit card she thought I never checked. Then came the photo that ended any real doubt. It was from Lily's school fundraiser. A parent had posted a gallery online. In one picture, Natalie and Adrian were standing near the refreshment table. Nothing dramatic, no kiss, no obvious confession. Just his hand on her lower back. And Natalie leaning into him. Not away. Into him. Sometimes betrayal isn't exposed by a kiss. Sometimes it's in the comfort. In the way two people stand too close because they forgot they're supposed to be careful. That Friday, Natalie said she had a book club. She hated reading. I asked which book. She froze. Something by Colleen Hoover. Which one? She smiled like I was annoying her. You wouldn't know it. She was right. I wouldn't, because the book club didn't exist. After she left, I drove to the Marlowe Hotel and parked across the street. The whole drive there, I kept hoping I was wrong. Even with the messages, the photo, the watch, some pathetic part of me still wanted an explanation that didn't destroy everything. At 8:14, Adrian's car pulled into the hotel garage. At 8:29, Natalie arrived in a rideshare. She stepped out wearing the black dress from the mirror selfie. I watched my wife check her reflection in the hotel doors and smile. Not the polite smile she gave coworkers, not the tired smile she gave me after long days. The old smile, the private one. Adrian met her at the entrance. He didn't hug her like a friend. He touched her face, and she leaned into his hand like she had done it 100 times before. I took one photo. Then I drove away. That was the hardest part. Not yelling or storming in. Just driving away while my wife walked into a hotel with the man who had held my wedding rings. Lily was sleeping at my sister's house that weekend. When I got home, the house was silent. I sat at the kitchen table and opened the file. For the first time, I cried. Not loudly, not like in movies. Just quietly, with my hands over my face, while the refrigerator hummed and our wedding photos stared at me from the hallway wall. Natalie came home the next morning around 10. She said book club ran late, and then she slept at Maya's place because she had wine. Except there was no Maya. Maya had moved to Arizona 8 months earlier. Sounds fun, I said. Natalie looked relieved. That relief disgusted me more than the lie. 3 days later, Adrian came over for dinner. Natalie invited him. That was her mistake. She said he had been going through a hard time and needed friends. Friends. He walked in carrying red wine and Lily's favorite cookies, even though Lily was at my sister's house. Then he hugged me. Missed you, brother. Brother? There are words people should lose the right to say. This bastard had been sleeping with my wife for who knew how long, and he still dared to call me brother? Natalie was nervous. She kept touching her necklace. Adrian, though, was comfortable. Too comfortable. He thought I was harmless. He thought I was the kind of man who would break loudly, stupidly, in a way he could manage. But I had spent 2 weeks becoming quiet. And quiet men are dangerous in ways loud men never understand. Dinner was almost impressive. Adrian asked about my job, my parents, the broken fence in the backyard. Natalie laughed too hard at his jokes. He performed friendship beautifully. After dessert, I said, I found our wedding video. Natalie looked up. Adrian smiled. No way. You still have that thing? Of course. Some moments are worth keeping. I connected my laptop to the TV. There we were, younger, happier, unaware. Natalie walking down the aisle, me crying before she even reached me. My father still alive, Lily not even imagined yet. Adrian beside me, holding the rings, smiling like a man with nothing to hide. Then came the speeches. On the screen, Adrian lifted his glass. To Ethan and Natalie, may you always protect what you have, because love like this doesn't come twice. In the living room, real Adrian stopped smiling. Do you remember saying that? No one answered. I turned to him. Do you? He cleared his throat. Yeah, of course. I nodded. Good. I wanted to know if you remembered the kind of man you pretended to be. Natalie whispered, Ethan, I didn't look at her. I opened the file. First, the hotel photo, then the mirror selfie, the receipts, the school fundraiser picture, the number with the message preview. I didn't yell. I didn't insult them. I just clicked through the evidence slowly, one image at a time. Their faces changed exactly the way I expected. Confusion, panic, shame, then anger. Adrian stood up. Man, listen. I looked at him. Sit down. He sat. Maybe it was my voice. Maybe it was the first time in 12 years I didn't sound like his friend. Natalie started crying. But I knew Natalie's tears. I had seen them at movies, at our wedding, when Lily was born, when her grandmother died. These were different. These weren't grief. They were fear. How long? Natalie covered her mouth. Adrian looked at the floor. How long? Natalie said, "It wasn't supposed to happen." That sentence is incredible, isn't it? Not, "I'm sorry." Not, "I hurt you." Not, "I betrayed you." Just, "It wasn't supposed to happen." As if betrayal is weather. As if hotel rooms book themselves and people accidentally fall into each other's arms for 6 months. 6 months. That was what she finally admitted. But I knew she was still lying. Because Adrian said, "Natalie, don't." And there it was. A second file opening. What does that mean? Natalie shook her head. Adrian. He looked at her, and for the first time, I understood something. They weren't lovers in that moment. They were co-conspirators who no longer trusted each other. Adrian said, "He deserves to know." Natalie screamed, "Shut up!" Lily wasn't home, thank God. Adrian looked at me. It started before the wedding. The room went silent. Some moments don't slow time down. They stop it. Before, Natalie was crying harder now. Adrian said nothing. She whispered, "It ended back then." It did. And then it started again. Before the wedding. Before the vows. Before my father gave his speech. Before Adrian stood beside me holding the rings. They had already betrayed me. Then they watched me promise forever. I don't remember standing up. I only remember walking to the hallway and taking the wedding photo off the wall. Natalie followed me. "Ethan, please." It was complicated. I turned around. No, taxes are complicated. Scheduling childcare is complicated. Loving your husband while sleeping with his best man is not complicated. It's cruel. She flinched. I placed the photo face down on the table. Then I handed Adrian his bottle of wine. "You should leave." He opened his mouth like he wanted to say something meaningful. But men like Adrian never have meaningful words when the costume comes off. So he left. Natalie stayed in the living room, shaking. "I love you." And maybe the old me would have wanted to believe that. But the old me was gone. I said, "You loved being loved by me. That's not the same thing." The next few weeks were paperwork, lawyers, and conversations that felt like autopsies. Natalie begged. Adrian disappeared. Friends chose sides. Some told me to forgive her because we had a child. Others said betrayal before the wedding changed everything, as if it mattered where the knife entered. Once trust is gone, it's gone. I stopped asking for opinions. People love giving advice about pain they don't have to live inside. The final twist came from Maya. The real Maya. The one who had moved to Arizona. She called after Natalie told her some version of the story where I was cold, controlling, and paranoid. Maya said, "Ethan, I don't want to get involved, but there's something you should know." Then she sent screenshots. Natalie had told her the affair never really ended. Not after the wedding. Not after Lily was born. Not during the years I thought we were building a family. Adrian had been in the background of my marriage the whole time. Birthday parties, barbecues, hospital visits, Christmas mornings. Always close. Always smiling. Always waiting. That night, I opened the file one last time. I added Maya's screenshots. Then I sent everything to my attorney. The divorce was not easy. Divorce never is, especially with a child involved. But I wasn't trying to destroy Natalie. I was trying to protect what was left of me. And the strangest part? Adrian didn't stay with her. 3 months after I filed, he moved to another state for a job. Natalie called me the night she found out. He left. I almost laughed. But I didn't. Because by then, I understood something.
People who build love out of betrayal should never be surprised when it collapses.
I said, "That sounds painful." She whispered, "You don't care?" I looked at Lily's drawings taped to the living room wall. The house was quieter now. Cleaner, somehow. Like the truth had opened all the windows. No, I don't. A year later, I found the old wedding video while cleaning a storage box. For a moment, I thought about deleting it. Instead, I watched Adrian's speech one final time. Love like this doesn't come twice. He was right. It doesn't. But neither does the same blindness. I closed the laptop and moved the file to an external drive. Not because I needed it anymore. Because some evidence is worth keeping. Not to reopen the wound. To remember the lesson. Natalie thought I was asleep that night. Adrian thought I was harmless. And sometimes, I still feel grateful that the paternity test confirmed I was Lily's father. Because if I had lost my daughter too, that would have been too much. They were both wrong. By the time they realized it, the file had already been opened and closed. Another file closed. Another secret exposed. And a new life began. Subscribe to the Eris Files, because every betrayal leaves a file.